we might ask the question, I want a sign, and the signs are smashing you in the face. And
Yeah.
if you don't acknowledge them, then you're not acknowledge them. So you need to be part of the process. The way we define something or label something is the way we create.
This is By Joyan Season 2. I'm your host, Joyan Chan, and every Wednesday we bring you inspiring stories, powerful message, and fun conversations with me and my special guests and friends, and it's my personal mission to empower you to live and lead a life with joy. This podcast is for you if you're looking for more joy, courage, passion, and purpose in your life. Now let's dive into today's episode and get ready to laugh, learn, and live your life to the fullest. If you're curious about energy and magic, then you are in for a treat. Our guest today has had two major life-threatening health experiences. One, a 15 centimeters fibroid that she released by herself. The other, a 4.5 centimeters brain tumor that she had surgically removed and had many magical experiences through the process. Discovering the secrets of alchemy, she merged this knowledge with 25 years of being a healer to create an ascendance code and energetically align with a higher self wisdom. And she's here today to empower you to tap into your true essence and create magic in your life. So, guys, help me welcoming the intuitive warrior, Elizabeth Makepeace. Elizabeth, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's so good to be here. Thanks, Joyan.
Elizabeth, I'm really happy to connect with you. And I'm just like, I told you I really want to hear your story. So how did you magically heal yourself?
Um, it is a bit of a story, right?
Yeah.
Like both times, I really had to do a deep dive into myself, and so basically both times I had to really come into understanding myself first. So the 15 centimeter fibroid was something that happened about 12 years ago. And it was like I had no symptoms. There was no 15 centimeters is huge, apparently, when it comes to fibroids. And I should have been having irregular bleeding. I should have had bloating. I had no symptoms whatsoever. So the only reason I found out that I had this big fibroid was because I fell pregnant. And 9 weeks into the pregnancy, I started bleeding. So through that, they went, you've got this massive fibroid. We're going to have to, you most probably will lose a baby, which I did, but it wasn't just because of the fibroid. And after that, because I was in my 30s, they were saying, we've got to take your uterus out. And so I didn't want to go anywhere near them. Like, I'm like, no one's going to touch me with a knife, right? And so through the process, I looked at all parts. How did I create this? What was happening with my health and my body? What was my mindset? How come the mindset that I was creating that supported this thing to grow into my system? Because, I believe in everything being energy. So where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
And so through the process, I then started changing my diet and changing the way I looked at things. And I did some spiritual work on it. And basically, through that process, I then, looked at different health alternatives as well. So I got rid of all, estrogen dominant foods in my life. I started acupuncture and naturopathy as well. However, it was the mindset and the spiritual side that I feel really made a big difference, because through that process, I released the energy of why I was holding on to it.
Mm.
And that's how it started releasing out of my body. And the same with the 4.5 centimeter brain tumor. That was actually only a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And that was a massive experience, Joyanne. Honestly, it was exciting for me because I've been a healer for 25 years and I sort of know what I'm doing now, right?
Yeah.
And so, so when I discovered that I had this, big, they were saying it was like a piece of small fruit in my head. Uh, I went straight into how I know how to heal my body. So straight away, I started changing my diet and I just completely tuned into myself and what is it that my body, my mind, and my spirit actually want to do through this process and how we're going to heal it. And it was one thing after the other that a lot of people would say were synchronicities. But in my world, these are what I call the superconscious, which is our higher self, our, the quantum field that has all the codes of creation in it. That part of me was guiding me all the way through the process. So, will I tell the story? Because it was really exciting. It
Yeah,
was, it was,
please. Yes, please.
it was an amazing process. So, first of all, I had headaches, like pressure headaches that were happening for a long time. And I'm not one to go to the doctor. Not that I disagree with doctors, it's more that I look after myself first. And so it's not something that I normally do. I was looking after my mum, and I'd been to a doctor through that process with her, and I'd mentioned that I was getting these headaches, and and I had water in my ear. And this doctor said, it doesn't sound like anything medical.
Mm,
Well, being a massage therapist for 25 years, I just went straight into, oh, maybe it's something structural, like my atlas is out, which is the first vertebrae in your head, in your neck, And so I started looking at all the other things, like, is my neck out? Maybe it's my jaw, maybe it's menopause, it's started menopause. So I was looking at all these things and I was getting all of this stuff, acupuncture, naturopathy. I'd been to an Ayurvedic specialist. I even did a medical intuitive session. No one picked it up. And the only thing that was changing it was I was doing cold water therapy for myself, and that made a difference. And changing my diet made a difference as well. So I was getting progress. So that's what helped me to keep going.
mm,
But then I get to this point where I actually started, like one day I had a moment where I just was a bit off and I sort of didn't black out, but I went a bit wobbly. And my daughter had a go at me, like she said, go and check out with the doctor what it is. And then you can do your stuff, right?
yeah.
So this is where the magic happened because I'd only just moved to the area, so I didn't have a, local doctor that I went to. So I just looked up Google and went to the first doctor that was the closest. And I just happened to go to a doctor that had been in neurosurgery for 4 years prior to being a GP. So as soon as he saw me, he looked in my eyes, he said, yep, there's something going on. You need a CT scan tomorrow. So I went in, had a CT scan. Half an hour later, they ring me up and say, you need to go to emergency. You've got a 4.5 centimeter brain tumor. He says to me, you need to pack your bags. There's no way you're going to get a neurosurgeon on emergency on a Friday afternoon. Who walks in the door but a neurosurgeon? And so he looks at me, does all the tests, and he says, who gets something like this? How do you, someone like you get a 4.5 centimeter brain tumor? You should be having balance and coordination issues. You should be presenting with blackouts and seizures, and you've just got headaches.
Mm,
So I went home, went back in on Monday to the hospital. Um, I had to have 3 months off work, or 2 months. I think it was 2 months. And so I'm sitting in the hospital bed and I had to in my business, I do direct debit with payments.
Yeah.
And the company I was using wasn't working for me, so I decided I was going to go to Stripe, but I
Yeah.
had never really used Stripe. I get this email from Stripe saying that they want me to verify who I am. And because I'd never used it, I thought, oh, well, I'll do that because I'm going to, when I get out, I'll be able to use them. So I verified myself, put my license on the bed and took a photo and all the things. I come back to an email straight afterwards saying, now that you have verified yourself, we need to give you your payout. And I'd had $12,990 worth of money in Stripe that I didn't even know was there drop
Wow.
into my bank account while I'm sitting on the hospital bed. The surgeon said that when she opened my head up, and she said that the tumor just dropped out, like popped out at her. She got the whole thing. I
Oh my.
woke up, no pain, no follow-up surgery, no follow-up treatments. It was just one thing after the other that happened that was like I was just on this beautiful, journey, and it just happened as if it was just like, I don't know, having a mole removed. It was really
Yeah.
an amazing process.
So I don't know about you, but I am someone who truly believes that everything happens for a reason. So why do you think, being a healer, why do you think you manifested it? You created these tumors in your brain and whatsoever, and you had to go through that process, in order to, and you were still able to make a business work and attract abundance, like $12,000. That was a lot of money, right? While you're in your hospital bed. Why do you think you had to go through all of that? And what was the lesson for you?
Truly, I feel like, so just to back up a little bit, one of the things that I do in my business is I support people to create.
Yeah.
And one of the things with us creating is that we see ourselves as broken. We are running on this illusion that there's something wrong with us and that we need to fix ourselves. So through that process of trying to fix ourselves, we're in sabotage beliefs of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm insignificant, I don't belong. But also, one of the things is that we feel like we're not perfect, and we're always trying to sort out this I'm not good enough or I'm not perfect. And so, through the process of this creation, it's one of the realizations that it doesn't matter what's going on, things happen to us because we're human.
Mm.
And this tumor was me seeing that I'm not perfect, that I am human, and things happen like this, but you can have this amazing experience through the process. So for me, it was this realization that stuff can happen to me. And one of my beliefs, somehow in the big scheme of things, I had a belief that for me to have major change, I have to have major experiences.
Right.
So when I realized
Mean,
that, I
that's your
went,
belief that,
well,
yeah, they're bringing all these, major experiences.
yeah, yeah, like 15 centimeter fibroid,
Yeah.
now this, I'm like, okay, I think I'm all good now, right? So,
Wow.
I realized that was a belief system that
Wow.
some part of me believed that for me to have a major shift, I needed to have a major experience. So I've now been aware of that, and I can actually shift that now. But also, for me, I believe that as a healer, it was me seeing that there was a couple of things. One, with the fibroid, I ended up in hospital, but I still released the fibroid naturally by myself. But with the brain tumor, for me, it was recognizing that it didn't matter whether I was a healer or not. I didn't have to go in and show that I could heal it.
Mm.
I could use all of the world, all of society, all of the tools available to
Yeah.
me to heal myself. So I could be a co-creator in the experience by allowing,
Yeah.
one of the things that happened was the last nurse that I saw before my operation, her name was Angel,
Wow.
not abbreviated. And the first nurse that I opened my eyes to, her name was Crystal.
Wow. I mean, what a coincidence. That's
No, that's right. So here I was still giving my body over to somebody else, like to the medical system. But I know that that was much more,
yeah.
that was what my journey was to actually go into hospital and just get it removed. Because if I'd gone, I'm going to fix this by myself, I would have
Right.
been resisting or
Mm.
isolating from the opportunity to actually just do it fast, get it out of the way, and keep
Yeah.
moving on.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, you are right. We have to ask for help, ask the universe for help, right? And you did, you asked for a sign and you saw three shooting stars. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, tell me
Yeah.
about that.
That the three shooting stars was why I'm actually here still, because that was at the start of my spiritual awakening.
Mm,
I had woken up spiritually not on purpose.
okay.
I had read a few books. I actually was slightly intuitive or knew that I, knew stuff, but it wasn't something that I took much notice of. But my dad passed away when I was 15. And when I was in my 20s, I moved up to a place called Far North Queensland up in Australia, at the top in the rainforest. And a friend of mine was saying, you need to go and see this woman. She's this psychic. She's really good and she'll help you see your dad and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, not interested, don't believe in them.
Mm,
I think they're charlatans, all the things. But she kept on insisting. So I ended up going just to shut her up.
right.
And, and so while I, went in, saw this woman, and she said, what are you doing? You can do what I do, but obviously you don't know it. And so she started sharing all this stuff, and I, got experience of seeing, touching my dad's hand, like he put his hand, I put my hand out and he touched my hand. I felt him on my cheek. So when I came out of that experience, I had energies around for about 2 or 3 days. So that was the start of me waking up. And she wouldn't let me go back. I rang her to see what's going on and can I get help? And she said, they're just happy that you've woken up. It's all okay. It'll calm down. But she wouldn't let me go back. So I was sort of left by myself. Through that experience, I ended up in like a little group with a teacher that was teaching us past life regression.
Mm,
And I did that training for about 7 years. And through that process, one of the first experiences I had with a past life process where I was facilitating was a young boy. He was about 14 years old, and he was seeing eyes behind his eyes when he would go to sleep. And so his mum was like, he won't sleep in his own bed. She was a single mum, won't sleep in his own bed. And I think, it's not right. He's 14 and he's a boy, he should be sleeping in his
right.
own bed. Can you help me? So I went over to the other side of the suburb. I was living in a beach suburb, and I took him through this regression.
Mm-hmm.
But he was jumping everywhere. He was sort of moving backwards and forwards and wasn't completing each past life.
Okay.
And one of the past lives he had was he was an army guy, and he was
Okay.
just about to jump off a cliff. And so before I could do anything, he's jumped to another life. And
Huh.
so, I'm like, okay. And I was sort of tuning in, and I was working with Archangel Michael at the time. And so Michael was saying to me, it's okay, let him just do his thing. So when we came out of the regression, He, spoke to me a bit, but nothing major. We finished. I went and started having a cup of tea with his mum outside. And, I take my hat off, like as
Mm.
in, finished work. I was just doing me.
Yeah.
Um, Went home, got the kids in the bath, settled in, making dinner, all the things. And I get a phone call from her and said, could we have stuffed up? I'm like, what do you mean? She said, I don't know who that is. She said, it's not my son.
Oh my God.
He's, yeah, she said, he's talking differently. He won't look me in the eye. His mannerisms are different. And I went, oh no, like the army guy, right?
Oh my goodness. This is
Yeah.
freaky.
And she said, yeah, and it was because it was new to me. I actually didn't really believe what I was doing myself, right? But
Okay.
then this had happened. And so I'm like, okay, well, look, I got the kids in the bath. She said, I don't know what you're going to do because he won't let you come back. She
Oh my
said,
God.
he now thinks you're a witch.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, let me work something out and I'll give you a call back. So I put the phone down, make sure the kids are okay, turn all the cooking off and everything. I race into my bedroom and call out to Archangel Michael, like, what am
Yeah.
I doing?
Right.
And so he said, look, you just go over in your light body and send him to the light.
Mm.
So, still not believing in any of it, I go over in my light body, take this army guy to the light, and I see all these other beings there, people and stuff. And I'm like, that's the eyes behind the eyes thing. So I take them to the light as well and do my thing, finish the kids off in the bath. We have dinner. So I think it might have been an hour later or something.
Hmm.
I give this woman a call, and she straight away she's like, "Oh, thank you so much." And I'm like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And she said, and she gave me the exact time that I actually did the process. She
Wow.
said, I saw the shift. I felt him come back. He looked me in the eyes. His voice is back, blah, blah, blah. And you wouldn't believe it, but he's gone to bed, and he's gone to bed in his own room. And from that moment on, he slept in his own bed. But what happened was I put my hand back down on the phone and I went, holy crap, I am a witch. Like, oh my God. I couldn't believe it. Like, I really just couldn't believe it. And I was like, who am I working for? And, like, am I doing the right thing? And because I
Yeah.
had a few free friends that were Christians at the time. So I was like, you know, am I working for the right side? Is this
Yeah.
good or is this not? So I'd gone to up camping up to the Daintree and with some friends, and I was waiting for them, and I was sitting by myself, laying on top of my car. And in the Daintree rainforest, there's no lights. It's just stunning stars. You could like thousands and thousands of stars. And I'd been laying on my car, on the
Mm.
top of my car, asking the question, like, am I doing the right thing? And sort of a bit concerned about the whole thing. And so I was looking up at the stars, and I'd been there for about, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes.
Hmm.
And I decided to call out to the universe and say, I want to sign. I want
Mm.
to sign, or I'm not going any further. And at the time, I called myself Liz, and they used to call me Elizabeth. So it was like, you don't need a sign, Elizabeth. Like it was in my head. And I threw my hand on the roof of the car and chucked a tantrum. Basically, I just sort of went, God damn it, I want to sign like in the movies, or I'm not going any further. And as soon as I said that, I got 3 shooting stars.
Like right after
And
that. Oh my God.
yeah, and I was there for another 5 minutes or something. It was nothing afterwards, nothing before, nothing afterwards. And that's when I went, okay, that ghost that I see on the side of the road that I pretend is one of the poles, reflector poles.
Hmm.
I'm now going to acknowledge that she's there. And there was all these things that I'd pretended weren't happening to me that I started acknowledging, and that's when things really started shifting.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, okay. Um, how do you know that that is your sign? Like sometimes we ask for a sign and we might see certain things, or we might not even get a sign, right? So how do you know that that is your sign? Because to someone, maybe shooting stars is just a shooting star, that is not like how what in the moment that made you think, okay, that's my sign, like I'm going all in.
That is a really great question because we have to make that definition.
Yeah.
We have to define it as this is my sign. Because I could have just seen that as three shooting stars, like you
Yeah.
said, right?
Yeah.
We might ask the question, I want a sign, and the signs are smashing you in the face. And
Yeah.
if you don't acknowledge them, then you're not acknowledge them. So you need to be part of the process. And the way we define something or label something is the way we create. So I chose to see that as a sign.
Mm,
And because of that, I released the resistance of actually going into alignment, energetically aligning with my magic, with my superpower. And so I could have not defined that as anything. And so some people don't get a sign, but actually, I think that that's not true. I feel like most people do, like you always get a sign
mm,
if you're looking for it and you define it as that sign.
yeah. Yeah, you only want to receive the sign that you have this idea of the sign, right? But you didn't get it, right? Maybe you have gotten something else. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I love what you said, just that the way we define, I really love this. Like the way we define or label something is the way that we create. I really love that. It
Mm.
really hits hard. So I want to go back to uh asking you one question, because you mentioned that you did 7 years of past life regression training, but you don't believe in past life anymore today. Why?
Mm. Because as there's certain levels to us. We're here on the third dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And in the third dimension, we've got duality, right? So we've got positive and negative, hot and cold, good and bad, right and wrong. We live where we're experiencing ourselves as an individual, and we had the opportunity to recognize that we're not as well, that we're actually part of a collective. Even if you go, we're part of the human collective, right? But we're also part of a soul collective, a spiritual connection. Like there's this oneness that we are part of, that we all came from, right? So when you start identifying your past lives and start working through them and seeing the things that are holding you back, because different experiences that you have in past lives and your childhood now and generational history are all coded in your DNA. And so there's experiences that are holding you back from your greatness, from your mastery, from your creative spirit. And then there's information that can actually support you to become more than what you are experiencing now, right? But most of the time, it's the things that are holding us back that we want to identify and clear.
Mm,
So the more, 7 years of past life regression, it was really intense training. We were like nearly every single weekend working on, I'm part of a woman's book that she was documenting all this information. And so it never got published, but
oh,
she did document it all, right? And so through that process, the more I became myself, meaning the more I became my higher self, my superconscious, the more I recognize that these past lives are actually not in the past. They
mm,
are experiences that are happening in the now moment that you can either download the information that's required to create more of who you are, or release the stuff that's holding you back from those lives that are affecting your life now.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because I believe in past life because like I have had some sessions and the person that I was working with brought me back to my past life, or she could see my past life, just like you mentioned the story of the army boy, right? So yeah, so I believe, or I don't know, right? I don't know if I believe or not, right? So yeah, that's helpful hearing from you. So why do you think so many people struggling with manifesting?
Because they feel they're broken.
Mm.
Just getting back, I just wanted to answer that past life
Yeah,
thing.
sure.
One of the things that was different about the regressions that I was doing and facilitating is that I would take the person through the past life themselves so that they're seeing it. And so through that, it wasn't just identifying this as a past life you've got, it was looking at what the past life was and then seeing the part that they would have made the wrong decision that might have made them die, or
Mm.
um, you know, they lost their love or whatever it might be. So we would go back before that decision and change that definition, label, and choice. And that would shift the vibration in that life as well as this life.
Wow, that's
So,
mind blowing. Like you
yeah,
can go back and change the choices, the decisions that you made in your past life. Okay, that's
yes,
something I have not heard of.
yeah. Well, because if everything's happening now, every single life has trillions of potential and possibilities. Because I can be making a decision right now, but I could make 100 different decisions
Mm,
right this moment, right? I could be talking to you, or I could decide not to and shut the laptop,
I hope you
I
don't.
could,
Yeah.
yeah, I could walk out, we could be laughing, we could be crying, we could be doing all sorts of things. You could be asking me a different question. So all of those are potentials and possibilities that are actually playing out somewhere in the field.
Mm,
And so when you make a decision in a past life that wasn't conducive to you being in your authentic self and your higher wisdom, then that pulls you back out of alignment. So you can go in and shift that again, make that decision in a different one instead. Can I give you an example?
sure.
So one of the first past lives I had, because again, I didn't believe in any of it, but
Yeah.
I had never, that when I started working with this mentor, she saw me as a blank slate because I hadn't read a lot of the spiritual books. I'd only read one or two. So I hadn't read the Bible. There was nothing that I had read
Yeah.
that my consciousness could grab hold of and make up. So whatever came through me came through with innocence. So one of the lives I had, and this is the first one I went, something really is going on here, right? Um, I was a bum on the street, right? And so I was just about to, change my life. I was going to kill myself and all that. And I had sneakers on with holes in my shoes and, roughy hair, and I was dirty, and I was just really at that point where I didn't want to live anymore. And so my teacher came into the life with me and said, let's go where you have been before and before this even happened. So I'm about 7 years old and I'm in this life, and I'm trying to explain to everyone that we're all one and we just need to love each other and all that sort of stuff. And so she comes in her light body and gets everyone to listen to me, because no one would listen to me because I was so young. So she comes in, gets everyone to listen to me. And then we go back again to when I'm older. And because everyone had listened to me, now I'm the same age as I was before, but I'm walking down the street with, a suit on. I was a man, right? So I got a suit on, my hair's short, and I physically could feel my hair had changed. While I'm laying there in the session, I touched my hair and went, oh my God, it's short and clean. I could feel it in my body. And so what happens in one life is affecting your life now. As I moved through different lives and had different experiences, as we cleaned up the energy of not believing in myself, hurts, pains, wounding, trauma, being burnt at the stake, all of those things, then that supported me to listen and own who I am and my self-authority here so that I could share on this level, this time and space, what is going on and speak my truth and be able to do things like podcasts and explain to people that we have the ability to create whatever we want.
Yeah, I'm sure all my listeners who are listening to this, they will be like, they are listening to this with their eyes open, wide open, and mouth open, and jaw dropping, right? So like listening to this story. So and all they want to know is how do they create the life that truly desire and manifest. Could be abundance, it could be the love of their life. I'm going to ask you about your story as well. But tell my listeners, or what is something that people can do? Like, how do we start creating? How do we start creating? Yeah, I think that is the question.
So there's 5 steps to creating. First of all, you've got to know what it is you want to create. So you've got to have a clear indication of what your choice is. And even that part can be a little bit tricky because we can be creating out of lack. So if we don't have money, we want money. If we don't have love, we want love. If we don't have health, we want health, right? And so being able to find a choice where you're creating not because you're lacking it, just because you want to create it. And so first of all, choosing what you want to create and becoming that person now is the second step, because there's only the now moment. So you want to tune in, and the person that I am in the future that already has that love, how would she or he create, how would he or she act? What would she be doing? What are the things that she would be doing on a daily basis? How would she feel about herself? What are the belief systems that she'd have when she had this experience already? So you've got to become the person now, because there's only the now moment, right?
Yeah.
Then you've got to look at your current reality and go, what's getting in the way in my current reality from me having that choice now? What am I doing now that she's not doing, the future self that's already got this result? What is she not doing that I'm still doing? What are the bad behaviors, for example? And what is she doing that I'm not doing now? So you've got to look at your current reality so that you have a measurement of where you are now and where you want to go.
Yeah.
Then the 4th step is, if you do have something that's getting in the way, you need to shift it and clean it up. And that's where my recoding comes in. Recoding, there's 3 different levels of consciousness. There's our unconscious that holds on to patterns of behavior, bad habits, woundings, trauma, beliefs about yourself that aren't true and accurate anymore, but they're still imprinted in your unconscious. Then you've got your conscious that wants to change and grow and experience. But then there's this other level, what I call the superconscious. And the superconscious is a field of all information. When you personalize the superconscious, it's our higher self that's got all this wisdom, all of the codes of creation, everything that you ever desired, all potential that you could possibly be. All of that is in this field of all possibilities. And at that level, it actually doesn't care if you're creating or not, as long as you're experiencing. So recoding what I can do is go into that field with you and pick up the codes that are no longer serving you and holding you back in beliefs that don't belong anymore. And it's like flicking the switch. So it neutralizes those beliefs and sort of dissolves them so that now you don't have any resistance and you can move forward into creating whatever you want. So 7 years of past life regression training, it's like super speed with recoding. It's like a cherry on top of everything I've done before. It collapses time because you're clearing the codes from the source of where they came from, whether that be a past life, conditioning from childhood, whether that's genetically in your DNA from future generations in your bloodline, wherever it comes from. It might be world beliefs, all of those things, we can change the code, clear it out of the way. And then the fifth step is taking action. Now that you've got all the resistance gone, you then start taking action on what it is that you want to create.
I love the last one especially because a lot of people think about manifesting or law of attraction is all about sitting there and things will just happen, right? But I
Yeah.
really love the last one, which is taking action, which is the last and final step, right? You have to take action, you have to make it happen. It's not gonna magically show up, right? So thank you so much for guiding us through the 5 steps. Yeah, like I said, the last thing that I want to talk to you about is about your love, manifesting the love of your life. And I know that you met your husband, right? Is he your husband now? I assume, right?
Yeah.
In you said it's in the fairy tale encounter. So I want to hear about that, how it unfolded.
It was such a beautiful experience. Again, making the choice
Mm,
of how I wanted to experience. And we're all told, we all watch the Disney movies and, Netflix and all the things, romance movies, and we see these fairy tale encounters and we all yearn for it, a lot of people do anyway. But we're also told that it's not true, it's not
yeah,
realistic, and it won't happen to you. So there's this desire of having something that's then elusive, and where we've got this energy of wanting to pick it up, but then at the same time a belief that it won't ever happen to us, right? So when you create, you just go in with conviction, and this is how I define my life, and this is what I get magic happening in my life.
yeah.
So I've got this thing with houses, cars, and people, like names. I've got this thing with names. So I moved from Oleander Street to Oleander Drive. I could tell you story after story of scenarios where I've had experiences where I've matched with things.
Mm,
So being by myself for 12 years, I was 50 years old and really happy by myself, but wanted to also experience life and with a companion, go through the next 40 years with somebody else, right?
yeah.
And so I had moved to a beach location in the middle of COVID, and so I didn't know anyone. Work from for myself with women mostly. That's about to change actually. So work online, and there's no way of, I don't go out and drink and
Yes.
nightclubs and all that sort of stuff. So how do you meet someone when all of your environment is saying, you're isolated, you're
I
alone, you
can
don't do
relate.
much, right?
Yeah.
And so I had been online for about 12 hours because I was attending an event and it was intense. And so, got offline. I thought, I'm hungry. I'll go and make my dinner. But then thought, you know what? It was just a thought. So this is for your listeners to recognize some stuff here, right? So if we're creating, one of the things about creating is holding that vibration that is true and that it's a possibility. So then you listen to yourself. So I just have this normal thought, oh, I should go down the beach and get my feet wet before I go and make dinner, right?
Mm,
So the beach is like 2 minutes away. So I go down the beach, it's in the afternoon, about 5:30 or something, and I'm the only one on the beach, but the waves are huge. And, I'm a coach online. And so I start doing a Facebook Live, right? So I'm showing, I'm showing everyone, oh my gosh, look how big the waves are, right? I never interact with anyone when I'm doing a Facebook Live, right? I'm very focused
Yeah.
on what I'm doing. Well, this guy walks past, so I'm the only one on the beach, I think. And can you imagine with, one of those
Yeah.
drones watching the scene, two
Yeah.
people on the beach? He walks past and he waves at me. So
Okay.
I wave back. I've never done that before, but I wave back at him. From his side of things, he said he got about halfway down the beach and he turned around and went, "Who the hell's that?" I want to know who that is. So he got to the end of the beach and he was going to walk home. And he said something kept on stopping him and saying, "Go back and talk to her."
Wow.
So he said, "I just kept on getting it. Go back and talk to her." So by the time he walked back, I'd stopped my Facebook Live and I'm standing there just, looking at the ocean. And he walks back and I said hi and he said hi and we start talking. Find out we live in adjacent streets. Find out that we both love sunsets and sunrises and taking photos. We just got on like we were just two people. There was no discomfort with him at any stage. I felt completely safe the whole way. And here's the thing, right? All those things that aligned. I've been a healer for 25 years.
Yeah.
My my maiden name is Payne, Payne, and his last name is Makepeace. I had asked the universe, when I meet my man, I want to make sure I don't miss him. You've got to give me something that smacks me over the head so that I know that it's the one.
Wow.
So here I am, a healer, and his last name's Makepeace. I mean, I even questioned him. I said, because I saw it on Facebook. I'm like, who makes up their last name as Makepeace when they're not into spiritual stuff, right? Because he wasn't spiritual at the time.
Okay.
But he said, I didn't make it up. He said, I was born into Makepeace. That's my surname. And
Wow.
so, yeah, and we just get on. I mean, we're so connected. I was just saying to him this morning, we're so connected that even our bad habits are the same.
There's
So
a
we got to do something about that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a beautiful story, like I said, like just like a movie, right? So were you kind of looking for a partner during that stage of your life, and then he shows up, or you were not even looking, for anyone?
No, it was. We actually realized that we were on the same dating app and that we had both swiped each other left.
How did you?
Yeah.
Wow.
So difference that shows the difference, right? Because meeting someone in
Yeah,
person compared to meeting them online. And I know that people meet online, but it just shows how much disconnect can be online. Those dating apps for me have always been like energetically very
yeah.
sticky,
Mm,
and it just feels like bad vibes in there. It's very challenging as an empath to be on
yeah.
dating apps because they do drag your energy down. But I've got a course that I call it's called Calling in the One.
Mm,
And basically what it is, it's a process of aligning with your, soulmate, your divine partner, so that the universe can draw you two together. As I said,
yeah.
he came back to me,
Wow.
like I didn't do anything. He came back to me and started talking. And so I support people and show them how to create that.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful if you can help people to, yeah, I think I saw the course on your website. And it's a proof that the universe also has a way of bringing people together. You know, you swipe left and you met in person on a beach, right? He came back to talk to you. So it's just a way, it's just a proof and evidence that, you know, it always, what is meant for you will happen for you, right? That's the saying. So what is meant to be will be, right? So yeah.
What's really interesting about it is that I lived up in far north Queensland for 16 years, which is like a whole different state. It's a 4-hour flight from where I am now. I moved down to New South Wales in Sydney to look after my mum. And then through the process, and I didn't want to come, but I did because, an obligation to mum. I'm the only girl in the family, all that sort of stuff. But I also wanted to support her in her elderly years. And so through that process, she ended up in a nursing home. And because I'd met another guy on a dating app that didn't turn out, I had discovered the area where I am now, which is Shell Harbour, Shell Cove area, which is even further down south than Sydney. Because of that guy, I then, when it was time to move from Sydney and I wanted to find somewhere to live, I went, oh, I'll move down there because there's the beaches and there's the rainforest and the waterfalls that I'm used to in far north Queensland, but I'm still close to family. So because of my mum and making the decision to move down and follow my intuition, even though my consciousness was like, I don't want to move to Sydney, my intuition was telling me to move there. After moving there, I was then able to move to Shell Harbour, and that's where I met Tim on the beach.
Right. So
sometimes it's not always, it's in fact most of the time it's not fairy tale romance, rainbows and unicorns. It's if you look at any movie, there's the hard part in the middle, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
you've just got to follow your instincts.
yeah. I think it's those small moments, like little tiny moments or intuitions that you said, that guides you to that big moment, right? The exact moment where you are meeting a partner or you are, anyone, right? So yeah, that's so beautiful. Is there anything else that you really want to talk about? Perhaps I didn't ask you or didn't let you.
If I have anything to share with your audience, it's that to really hold on to the vision of what they want to create and start becoming that person now. Because the more you're behaving like that person and doing all the things that that future part of you is doing, the more you will create. And so our unconscious will try and bring up sabotage beliefs and scenarios to try and stop you because it doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
But you just keep moving forward. You keep taking the actions of becoming the person now.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing so abundantly with our listeners today. And tell my people where they can find you if they want to work with you. What are the options?
So I'm on Facebook. That's where you can sort of find me the best. And I'm Elizabeth Eleanor on Facebook. It's my middle name. And Eleanor is spelled Elenor. So it's a little bit differently. So, you can message me on Facebook. I have a business page called Peacemaker Ascension Portal as well. But my website is elizabetheleanor.com.au. Yeah, there's all different ways of working with me, from group containers that I facilitate all the way to one-on-one sessions. And I work like an ascension. So if you're just starting out spiritually, I've got a course to support you in owning your self-awareness and self-authority, and all the way to, recoding and clearing in my Conscious Creator Circle, to working in my golden program where we're working one-on-one. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Now, guys, I hope you love this episode, and I know I want you to know that you have everything, you know, after hearing what, you know, all the stories and all the magic and miracles that Elizabeth was able to share with us. I hope you know that you have everything you need to start creating and manifest all that you desire, and go create the magic in your life today. And follow Elizabeth, go to her website, book her session with her, join her mastermind. I'll make sure you visit the show note below. That's where we will put all her links. And also remember to like and subscribe and leave us a review if you haven't already. And I will always leave you the same way as I leave you with every other episode. Show up, the world needs you and you need you. Thanks for listening, and I wish you all a joyful and amazing day ahead. Thank you again for tuning into Find Joy Joyan podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, take a screenshot and share it on your IG story and tag findjoyjoyan_podcast so I know you are listening. And leave us a positive review on Apple Podcasts if you haven't already done so. And remember to hit the subscribe button whether you are listening on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, or any of your other favorite platforms. If you love what we are doing and want to become one of our sponsors, you can send me a DM to connect. And thanks for being here. I will see you soon in the next episode.